Welcome to the Prophecy Club. And for 21 years, I've been doing this radio program, and I have never given my testimony. Now, let me tell you how the Prophecy Club started. In June of 1993, a radio station manager by the name of Doc called, and he said, well, you know, the radio station has been off the air or dark for 2 years. We're trying to get it started again. Wanted to know if you would be willing to support this other guy to be on the radio. I said, well, how much does it cost? He said, well, a 15-minute daily program costs about $240 a month. I said, well, I'll stand good for 200 of it. He called back a few minutes later, and he said, well, he still didn't want to be on the program, but he said that you're a prophecy student, and I should get you on the radio station. So how'd you like to do a 15-minute daily radio program on Bible prophecy? Well, I was already teaching Bible prophecy at the church, so I thought, yeah, okay. So it started. Matter of fact, it started in June of 1993. And as I said in yesterday's broadcast, it's only been going about 45 to 60 days, something like that. And I got a powerful prophecy, which I played in a program earlier, so I won't go through that again. But then our first meeting was held January 1994. Henry Groover was the speaker. I remember that night. I remember it very well. We had 105 people. And, of course, I was amazed that there was 105 people in the whole state of Kansas that was interested in Bible prophecy, much less 105 people in Topeka, Kansas. And I had to go out to the car to get something out of the car, and I was running across the parking lot, and I looked up into the starry night, and I said this, Lord, this is what I want to do for a living. Well, he heard that prayer because 8 months later, August 10th, 1995, I resigned my full-time job. I remember it was a Friday morning about 11 o'clock. I remember it well. The boss called and said, I've heard you've been doing a radio program. Yes. Well, you got to either do this training stuff or the radio program. I said, well, actually, I was kind of wanting to do both of them. He said, no, you can't do both. You got to either do training or the radio program. And, of course, I know he was thinking that I would, of course, quit the radio program. He said, take a couple of weeks to think about it and let me know. And I said, well, actually, I've already thought about it, and I'll choose radio. He called back about 10 minutes later, and he was crying. I mean, crying like a baby. He was really upset because he could not believe that I had just resigned. Oh, I remember well. I remember after saying I'll choose radio, I remember that yellow phone, hanging up that receiver. I remember looking at that receiver, setting down on that hook, and I remember saying, now, Stan, you realize you just threw away a 13-year career. And you realize that you do not have another job. And, of course, Prophecy Club, we weren't even taking any money out of it. It certainly didn't have any money to pay me. You realize you have no way to pay your bills. But at the same time, this boldness came over me. And I thought, I don't care. I don't care. If you got to go over the cliff, this is a good way to go over the cliff, at least doing what you want to do. And I thought, that's fine. I'm willing to do that. I'm going to go to the ends of the earth, but this is what I want to do, is Bible prophecy and tell people about the judgment coming on America. That night, August 10th, 1995, Tex Mars spoke. And there was about 300 people at the meeting, and I announced that I had resigned my full-time job in the training business. The next morning, Saturday morning, about 8:30, Leslie asked me to go out and get an audio tape out of the car. So I went out to the garage, closed the garage door behind me, and this prayer took place from the time I closed the door and I got the audio tape, and I came back up to open up the door to go into the house. And I closed that door behind me, and I said, Lord, as you know, I want to do this prophecy stuff, but, I don't know that you want me to do this. And probably the last thing I want to do is try to do this on my own without you with me. And I said, I got to know. This is not a joke. I got a mortgage. I got bills. I got a family I got to support. I got to know that you want me to do this and that this is just not my idea. And then I thought, okay, how am I going to hear from God? How can I know that this is really God calling me? Okay. I got it. Okay, Lord, if you are wanting me to do this Prophecy Club stuff. And if you're going to be there to provide for us and to protect us from evil, then have one of your prophets that I'll recognize as a prophet, have him call me before Monday and say these words, that I am supposed to do this, I'm supposed to go full time, and that you will be there to provide and to protect us. Opened the door, walked into the house, handed Leslie the audio tape, end of story. Didn't tell her anything about it. About 11:30 later that morning, Tex Mars called. Well, we're all packed up. We're just about to check out of the hotel and head back down south. Again, I just felt impressed to the Lord that I just really need to call Stan and to say this to you, Stan. I really feel like you leaving your full-time job and doing this Prophecy Club. I really believe it's of the Lord, and I just want to tell you that He's a good God. He's going to be there. He'll provide for you. He'll protect. And he said, it's the right thing to do. And, of course, I'm going, McFly, did you catch that? McFly. Okay. I got it, Lord. Well, I don't know, but I needed that. I needed to know that this was not just me wanting to do it. So that is now Saturday morning. So Saturday evening, we go cross town, some friends. One of the people there is one of the female pastors in town, very respected lady. And she walks up to me, points a finger and says, the Lord says, because you have chosen the role of a prophet, you'll receive a prophet's reward. Now, many times through the years, my mind has turned back to that prophecy. And I thought, she said it exactly right. If she said, you're a prophet, I was just telling Leslie, I worked with a lot of prophets. I live with a prophet. I know what a prophet is. I know what they look like. I know what they sound like, and I'm not a prophet. I know I'm not a prophet. But what she said, saying you are in the role of a prophet. Well, what I do in the Prophecy Club, yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm in the role of a prophet, but I'm not a prophet. Now, all I do is pick up what the prophets say and kind of help it get out there a little bit more. So anyway, I resigned. Now, I had no idea how we were going to make payments, how we were going to eat. But the first month, my mom, just out of the blue, didn't ask her for it. All of a sudden, she sends us $2,000, and that paid our bills that month. Second month, now it's October. Without asking for any help from anybody, my sister and her husband also gave us a large donation, paid our bills that month. Next month, someplace in there, I had bought this old piano for $1,000, and I sold it. Well, all of a sudden now it's rolled up to Thanksgiving, and I got to tell you this story. Oh, it was not before Thanksgiving. I remember it well. Leslie said, do you have any money in the account someplace I don't know about? No. Do you have any money stashed back in the corner of your billfold or anything? I said, no, honey, no, I don't have any money. She says, well, this is going to be interesting. I said, how's that? She said, well, I've never gone a Thanksgiving without a turkey. She says, but as it stands right now, we're not going to have anything to eat tomorrow because I've already done all the creative cooking we can possibly do. And she said, now, creative cooking, that's where you go to the cupboard and you pull out what is in the cupboard and you throw it into the pot and you cook it and you serve it to the children and say, if you're going to eat today, that is what you will be eating. I already done all that. Our cupboards are already bare. And I said, well, God said He was going to provide. Oh, I remember the very spot in the kitchen. I walked up to Leslie. I reached down behind each one of her elbows, facing each other, and I lifted her hands up and we prayed. And I said, Lord, you said that you would provide for us. So, Lord, we need something to eat on Thanksgiving. So I ask you to send it in Jesus' name. End of story. About an hour later, ding dong, doorbell rings. In walks Joanne. Joanne currently works at the Prophecy Club. You can call Prophecy Club, and Joanne will probably answer the phone today. Anyway, she walks in the front door. Of course, at that time, she wasn't working for her. She was just a friend. She walks in, 2 big bags of groceries in her arms, and says, "Get out of the kitchen. I'm fixing the Thanksgiving dinner." That's our God. That is our God. Now, this is 1995. So Prophecy Club begins to grow. Next city, meetings in that city. The next city. We added Kansas City, then we went to Des Moines and Omaha and Wichita. And so we're adding more cities. About every month or so, we're adding a new city. We begin to have meetings about 3 months later. So now, a few years later, it's May 5th, 1997. Dimitri Duduman died. Oh, talk about the wind being knocked out of my sails. Oh, I was so upset. Now, maybe this is not right, but I had been thinking that Dimitri was going to be the voice to lead us through the tribulation, to lead us through the trouble ahead. All of a sudden, now he's gone. Man, I tell you, I was so upset. I just went out to this little friend had a cabin way out in the middle of the woods someplace, and I just took a trunk of distilled water out there, and I just took my Bible, and I just fasted and prayed for 7 days. I mean, nothing but distilled water, nothing but distilled water for 7 days. First time in my life I ever did that. And when I woke up on the morning of the 6th day, I had a vision. Here's what I saw. I was standing in the parking lot of a large sports stadium. It was about dusk. I remember there was a long line of cars coming into the sports stadium. Here's what I knew. Somehow by the Spirit, I knew that they were there because I had been getting interviewed on secular radio and television, and that they had helped us to get this word out about this meeting. And of course, they had an ulterior motive. Their motive was they wanted to find out who the true believers were so that they could send people through the parking lot taking the license plates so they would know the true believers of the area. We'll be right back after this message. In 1980, an angel came to Dimitri Duduman and told him that it is written in the Bible and that America will be defeated in 1 hour by Russia. I just made a brand new DVD covering all of the secular, real-life proof that Russia really is preparing to do exactly that. Topics are Arise, Devour Much Flesh, Russia and Prophecy, Russia Now Rich and Strong, Russia's numerous military expansions, Ukraine and how it is making the bear angry. Russia is warning the U.S., but we're not listening. Russia is building their military, modernizing submarines, aircraft, missiles, and their army while the U.S. is downsizing and filled with traitors and weaknesses. 2.5 hours, gift of $30. Go to prophecyclub.com or call 785-266-1112. That's The Russian Bear Rises at prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. Order today. And now, back to the program. Their motive was they wanted to find out who the true believers were so that they could send people through the parking lot taking the license plates so they would know the true believers of the area. The people in the area knew that if they attended, their licenses would be taken. They would be put on a list, but they didn't care. They wanted Jesus. And I knew that as a result of that meeting, there would be thousands of people storming out of the stands, running down onto the field to give their heart to Christ. I knew that. And of course, that encouraged me greatly. Prophecy Club continued to grow and grow and grow. Another city, another meeting, another city, another meeting, until finally we were up on 80 radio stations, about 25 TV stations. We were depositing about $600,000 a month. We were holding meetings in about 40 cities a month. And about 5,000 people a month were attending our meetings, and lots of folks were getting saved. From 1993 until the year 2000, we were able to present about 7,000 new converted and about 20,000 rededicated souls to Christ. Now, at the time, I didn't know it, but we were the number 2 prophecy ministry in America. However, in October of 1999, I heard the Lord in my heart. Now, I didn't hear a voice, but he just spoke to my heart, and he said, I'm taking the Prophecy Club down. Gene Bacon called on 6/27 of 99, and then again on 6/29 of 1999. And basically his prophecy said, I don't know how to say this, but God's going to be doing some reorganizing. And basically what he was saying is that God is going to take the Prophecy Club down. Now, of course, I couldn't understand this. I mean, why would a soul-winning machine like Prophecy Club was at the time, why would God take that down? Well, I'm going to tell you the quick answer, then I'll explain later, and that was that I had to get some more tools in order to climb the mountain. I had to get more experience to go where God wanted me to go. So all of a sudden, Y2K comes along. We had about 3 speakers tell people about this Y2K. Now, it's no big deal because, 2020 had talked about it. 60 Minutes had talked about it. Oh, but it didn't hurt them. But it killed a lot of ministries that had nothing to do with prophecy, and most of the ones that were in prophecy went out of the ministry. We were one of the few that survived the great Y2K attack. And God gave me a dream and explained that it was all an attack of the devil. I remember Michael Boldea had called and told me that Y2K was not going to happen, but somehow or another it went in one ear and out the other. Oh, how I wish I had listened. That's what trouble you get in for not listening to the prophets, okay? 3 months later, March 20th of the year 2000, worst day of my life. You see, what happened was it took about 30 days to look at the reports to see that our response had fallen like a hockey stick down the mountain. And then another 30 days to see that it wasn't going to return. Then we filed cancellation. And so by the time March 20th rolled around, that was the day that I finally had to make the decision that our support was not going to come back, and I had to cancel 60 radio stations. That's 7 years of work I just threw away. We went from 80 stations down to 20 stations in one day, March 20th. And of course, when I canceled, then it takes another 30 days before the station will take you off, and my name was on the dotted line on every one of them. All of a sudden, within 4 months, Prophecy Club was $400,000 in the red. We went back. Now, it took us a number of years, but we went back and paid every one of those radio stations off. Then God started having us do crusades. Now, this is a 3-day prophetic meeting. Normally, it would go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, when I mean a meeting, this was not a little pat you on the back meeting. This is 9 to noon, 2 to 5, 7 to 10. This is 9 hours a day, 3 days in a row. And it was, Leslie and I sometimes will talk about it. We look at each other and say, how'd we do that? I couldn't do that today. How'd we do that? We don't know how we did that. How do you have a meeting 9 hours a day for 3 days in a row? I don't know. But nevertheless, we did it. Every one of the people that came to the meetings could get themselves a personal prophecy from a senior prophet. Here's the way we worked it. I remember, for example, we were in Detroit. Now, we had about 450 people show up at the crusade there, and we had a room that would hold about 4 of those 3x8 tables. Each table had 3 people at the table. There was the senior prophet, and then the other experienced person that may or may not be a prophet, and then there was the third person that's the greenhorn learner. But it was amazing. People would walk in, and here's what I told them. I said, now look, when you go in there, when we tap you on the shoulder, go in there, you're not going in there to get your fortune told. We don't want to know your name. We don't want to know about any of your stock options or any of your financial investments. We don't want you to say a thing. We just want you to go in and sit down. Say nothing, answer no questions. No questions will be asked. Either God talks or he don't. Bottom line. But the Spirit of God was faithful. That room filled up with the spirit of prophecy. And even greenhorns were prophesying accurate, dead on, right on. People would walk out of that room blowing their nose and wiping tears. God just got a hold of their heart and just boom, man, just talked to them. Boom, boom, boom. Right on, over and over and over. 450 people. I remember we did it in Denver, 800 people. I said, how many of you got a prophecy? Of course, almost all the hands went up. I said, now, how many of you just raised your hands will say that that prophecy was from God? Same number of hands went up. I mean, God was really faithful. He showed up, and those people had blessings and guidance and direction like they probably never had in their life. And it was a wonderful thing. In 2002, something happened. We went to Tulsa for a crusade. 700 people were there. And there was a man that walked up. I remember his name was Neil. And yes, I remember his last name too, but I won't say that on the air. Big tears rolling down his cheeks. He said, God has told me to give you a piano. I said, whoa, a piano? He said, yes. I said, well, hey, look, that's pretty big. Look, we still got a couple of days left on the crusade here. Won't you pray about it? I'll pray about it. And then if you still feel like God wants you to give us this piano, then come back up to me and we'll accept the gift. But I want to make certain that it's really from God. He said, okay. Well, next day he walks up again, tears in his eyes. He said, I prayed and I'm supposed to give you this piano. I said, okay, well, tell me about the piano. He said, well, it's a Yamaha. I paid about $14,000 for it. And if you'll pay the shipping, then you can come pick it up. I said, man, yeah. Then the thought occurred to me, you see, in the very early days of the Prophecy Club back in 1993, remember I sold that $1,000 piano and I bought food with it so that we could continue to eat. Okay, that was 1993. Now in 2002, this man walks up and gives us a $14,000 piano. That's our God. He did not forget that we had sown into this ministry. And by the way, I might add, he is not going to forget you folks out there that have sown into this ministry as well. Now, let me give you another story that I'm not exactly proud of, but I think that there's a lesson that we all need to learn in it. I don't remember the date or the year. I'm going to say it was probably 2002 or 3, or somewhere in there, maybe 4. But I woke up this one morning and I was just so frustrated that we were having so many financial difficulties. I didn't understand it was a test. I didn't understand that I was learning and that God was changing my heart. So I would have a heart for people that are poor and that don't have money. And I remember I got up out of bed and I had thought about it and I said, okay, God, just under my breath. I mean, I didn't say anything to Leslie. Just under my breath, I said, okay, God, I said, look, I quit. I think what I'm going to start doing is just kind of backing out of this Prophecy Club stuff. I'll probably cancel the radio stations we're on and just kind of sit back and chill and, whatever comes in, comes in. But I think I'm going to start looking for another job because I think I was doing better in a secular job than I am in this. And I'm just tired of the frustration. That's all. I didn't say anything to anybody else, just kind of under my breath. So I get to the office, and probably 15 minutes after I'm at the office, a good friend of mine that I had hired and trained back in the training business is at my office door, wants to talk to me. Hey, Stan, they've come up with a new plan now where they can have dual franchises, where there's partnerships and franchises. And I want you to come into my franchise with me as a full partner. And I know that it'll take you a while to get really up and rolling again. And I'm willing to guarantee you $10,000 a month just to start. Well, yes, there was a long pause, because only God knew what I had said just about 15 or 20 minutes before. This guy had to drive up from Oklahoma City to see me. So God knew what I was going to say even before I said it, and he had arranged this little meeting. And basically what God was saying is, Stan, you don't want to work for me? I'll open the door up. You can go back and do your little training classes if you want to. Go ahead. Go ahead, go, Stan. You don't want to serve me? Go ahead. Go ahead. Take it. I'll open the door back up. Oh, I mean, as this guy was talking, me and God were talking, because I knew he was watching very carefully what I said and also what I thought. And so I looked at that fella, nice guy, good guy, hired him, trained him in the business. Now he's doing really good. And I said, well, first of all, thank you. I take it as a very, very big compliment that you would drive all of this way from Oklahoma City to see me in person, to make this fantastic offer. I take it as a very, very big compliment. But I think I will stay in Bible prophecy, and I would appreciate it if you didn't ask again. He got up, left, and I've never talked to him again. I have tried calling his office several times. He will not even take my call. And I am so sorry that, however, whatever I said must have offended him. But that was not in my heart. It was that I was saying to the Lord, I will ride this horse all the way to the death. If I have to, I will go over the whole cliff and fall all the way to the bottom, but I'm not giving up. I love Bible prophecy. I feel like I have to warn America that she is the Mystery Babylon, and I am a soul winner. I love winning people to the Lord, and that is more important than any job, any money, any paycheck, any place. In the next broadcast, I'm going to be talking about how I was called to be in the oil business. In case you're not familiar with it, I am the president and CEO of an oil company. God is so good, so amazing. This is an amazing story. Be sure and tune into it tomorrow. But in the meantime, we've run out of time. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Today, we're making 3 DVDs available for a gift of just $25. The first one by Augusto Perez, End of Times. Topics are the Great Shaking, the Coming Famine, the Glory Cloud, the Coming Attack on the United States, the Great Darkness, the Super Devaluation of the Dollar, the Double Portion Outpouring, and how God will protect His own. Then, the Coming Pole Shift by Lloyd Carpenter. The Bible says that earthquakes will increase and the earth will turn upside down. Lloyd has studied the coming pole shift for over 20 years, and he says it is coming. And the topics are the earth's wobble, earthquakes, tsunamis, weather pattern changes, tornadoes, hurricanes, mudslides, floods and droughts, volcanoes, plate tectonics, seafloor spreading, hot spots, melting ice in the ring of fire, subduction zones, the scientific rationale for a pole shift, the Pacific Ocean and plate tectonics. Have earthquakes dramatically increased in the last 10 years? How does the Earth's rotation affect earthquakes? And John Moore, in Signs in the Sun, Moon, and the Stars, gives you a fascinating presentation using biblical, archaeological, scientific, and privileged government information to show you what is beginning to cause these signs in the sun, moon, and the stars. John proves the signs have already begun and will grow in intensity. He was an intelligence analyst for the U.S. Army and now a homicide detective and radio host. He has been investigating Earth changes since 2000 and has some startling discoveries. John has proof there is a mystery planet heading toward our solar system, which is causing ice caps to melt, stopping the Gulf Stream, causing tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, extremely hot and cold weather. He says the governments of the world know about it and they're preparing underground survival facilities. Included in this presentation is a classified map showing safe locations. It's the catastrophes in Bible prophecy gift offer. End of Times, Augusto Perez. Coming pole shift, Lloyd Carpenter. Signs in the Sun, Moon, and Stars, John Moore. Valued at $90, all available for a gift of just $25. Call 785-266-1112 or prophecyclub.com. That's catastrophes in Bible prophecy gift offer. End of Times, Coming pole shift, Signs in the Sun, Moon, and Stars. All for a gift of $25.